welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave, where we'll be discussing the third episode of the first season of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. The episode title is The Squire. I'm your host, Kevin, Nuncle Kevin on the Discord, and I am joined by...
Hey, this is Adam, also known as drownedsnow.
Stephanie, otherwise known as gsdg.
Jock, also known as Jock.
Hey, Michael, also known as Khal Wadege on Discord.
Well, this is the third episode of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, so we're starting to move along in the plot here wonderfully. I think we've got three folks, and Stephanie, Jock, and Michael, who've not had a chance to pod about the season, so want to give all of you a chance to share overall feelings as well. I know people have heard Adam and me a lot, so definitely want to give you all a chance to jump in. We like to start with lemon cakes overall. Michael, give us your lemon cakes, and you can do the season and the episode if you want.
I'd give this episode 4 out of 5. It was very good, very serviceable. I was a little psyched. Well, I was rather psyching myself up for the reveal and the ending climax, which may have been a little lackluster in my eyes, but yeah, it was good. For the season in general, I've also think it's been pretty well done, with aside from some strange humor choices. And given that Maekar isn't here to complain about Sir Arlen's portrayal, I'd like to throw in a few grievances that I've found it a very strange decision that I'm still trying to comprehend why this choice was made.
Your grievances noted, and will be addressed in the order it was received. Jock?
Well, one of my favourite films ever is A Knight's Tale, and I also love, A Song of Ice and Fire, so I'm all for this show. Really enjoyed the first couple of episodes, even though they're relatively slow. I just quite like sort of vibing in the world. I feel like episode 3 was quite a bit more dramatic than the last two. I feel like I forgot the crude humor, or might have blanked it out of my memory of the book. But other than that, I like everything so far. I like the portrayal of Bela Breakspear. I like Dunk's, I guess, flirting in the show. I'd probably give it 4 or 5 out of 5.
How quickly did you get Knight's Tale's vibe? Because I said that on the pod, and I felt like it was within 3 minutes. I was like, oh, where's Heath Ledger? This is Knight's Tale.
I feel like it very much jumped into that sort of sense of humor with the sort of Game of Thrones theme, fake out, and then the going for a shite behind a tree immediately after.
Yeah, fair. I try to look at it from the perspective of this is more a story that's being told centuries in the future, maybe, as opposed to Hot D and Game of Thrones that are meant more to be actually happening as you're watching them, if that makes sense. And this is more somebody telling you the story. It just didn't have a cut in at the beginning. That's my justification for the tone. Anyways, Stephanie?
Sorry. I'd say it's, some stuff feels a little rough around the edges, but overall, it just has so much charm, and with the performances of the main duo between the actors playing Dunk and Egg, that I bump it up to a 4. As far as the comparison to A Knight's Tale, it's very difficult comparison to separate yourself from, but that's not a bad thing. And the heart of both stories is just that even in a historical setting, it just reminds us that regular people have hopes and dreams too, right?
Aw, her name is Hope, and she abides. All right, Adam.
I'm going to give this 4.5 lemon cakes. I think this was probably the strongest of the 3 episodes we've gotten so far. I really enjoyed, it was so quick, so it's kind of hard to not enjoy, but I really enjoyed the bonding between Dunk and Egg. Just teaching him how to sew, and little kid Egg, just playing with the air, playing with the horses, pretending to be a squire, all that. And I thought that the reveal at the end, like, I think the actor nailed that line. I thought that was really good, but I'm going to take half a lemon cake off because oppressive, like, dramatic music kicked in, I think, way too early, and I felt like it kind of, like, air horned the moment a little bit, crushed it. I thought maybe they could have, like, given that a little bit time to breathe, but other than that, I really liked it.
Fair enough. And what I think we will get to that for a bigger discussion on how everyone feels as we run through the episode. I'll give it a 4.5. I've watched it 3 times now. It was pleasant to even watch and take notes on. I agree on the bonding was enjoyable. This show, like the main duo, is so good. It covers a lot of sins, a lot of choices of what's going on around them can get kind of hand waved because these two actors are so good. And I spent a lot of time in this episode thinking, oh yeah, Dunk's not that much older than Egg. And you can see like Dunk cosplaying being a different types of knights, trying to navigate who he wants to be in the world as well. How the two of them kind of are perfect complements for each other in that process as young people. All right, so the episode opens with Egg doing a little LARP session with Thunder and with Dunk's sword. Thunder is a bit recalcitrant at first, merely shitting rather than running as Egg asks him to, but Egg wins him over, and Egg gives a wonderful little speech about wanting Thunder to perform for Dunk's sake, which was just heart-melting. That process is interrupted by a one-eyed knight who is presumably not Bloodraven because we're told he's Robin Riesling. He tells us whenever it is madness bid, it is madness delivered.
I thought the bit with the horse nodding after everything Egg said was rather annoying and took me out of it.
A little on the nose.
Yeah, the poo part was, so glad that there was the gross out humor was taken down a notch this episode. It was getting a little old.
We thought it'd be worse, right?
I was pretty grossed out by the extruding eyeball from the joust scene that we get.
Oh, fair. I had to double check to make sure it was the right eye. They didn't screw it up.
Is this the first Westeros TV property that has flashbacks? Like true, just cut back mid-scene? I know there's like flashbacks to start Game of Thrones episodes.
Because in the final season or two, like, you get like Rhaegar and stuff, right? I don't know, there's like the prophecy things. I'm trying to think. I don't remember like Robert reminiscing and then cuts to something with him and Ned as kids. Like, we never got anything like that, right?
Yeah.
These are more jump cuts. Like instant flashbacks. I don't know how you would differentiate those.
These are more Family Guy style.
You think that's bad? Remember the time I lost an eye jousting?
That's good.
Real good just acting alone by kid who plays Egg, whose name I shouldn't be blanking on at this point, but yeah, very talented.
It is. And it's very, because of his like royal upbringing, he almost acts more like a modern child. Like he can do all these, he's had room in his life and his upbringing to play the way he does because he's not, looking at working in a field at 8 and 9 years old. So I think it's cute to see like actual childhood in Westeros, the childhood that like we think all kids deserve.
And I just believe it. Like watching him, it almost feels like the camera, wasn't even there. Like he's just out there screwing around. Like it feels very genuine.
I really enjoyed the whole speech about helping Dunk because if he doesn't win, he might not be a knight. There's something really wholesome about that, and Egg wanting to continue hanging out with Dunk, and I just appreciated that little moment a lot. Good, he's a good Egg. All right, we move on from there to our first bonding scene between Dunk and Egg. This episode, they have a conversation about sewing, about how Thunder needs brushing after his training session, and hard salt beef. Egg says that he'd rather eat the horse than that, and Dunk says, "You'll eat my fist," and whispers to himself, "Never mind." Then Dunk teaches him to sew and brushes Thunder with him. Don't end up eating hard salt beef.
So I guess this might be a place to talk about like the portrayal of Sir Arlen, because what I got from that scene, you'll eat your salt beef and you'll like it, seems like that came from Dunk's upbringing with Sir Arlen, with Dunk trying to mimic Sir Arlen there. The relenting and the sewing lesson stuff is more of just Dunk trying to, or choosing to, just do it his way, that he doesn't need to mimic Sir Arlen entirely.
He doesn't have the heart to follow through.
Right.
I mean, I just wish he threatened to cloud him, but, it's okay.
I go back and forth on that because we've talked in past episodes. Dunk says things that indicate a much more, loving, avuncular relationship with Sir Arlen, but obviously they didn't show us any of those, so it just looks like Dunk is lying to himself. But I don't think that was their intention. I don't know if I see it as rejecting Sir Arlen, but recognizing, maybe that isn't the kind of knight that I want to be to my squire. Maybe that isn't who I want to be, that I'm just going to not necessarily have to make these threats to get him to listen to what I say.
Or not necessarily that's an overt rejection of Sir Arlen, but that's just that's not me. This relationship depends on us, actually forming a meaningful connection, right? Egg is there of his own free will right now. He's not there because his father makes him, right?
I think he also recognizes that Egg is a very different squire than he was initially, right? Because I imagine even as a younger man, he was probably, why did he get picked out as a squire? Because, he didn't have anyone and he was probably, a big kid. So he seemed capable, and Egg is this scrawny little kid. So he's deciding who he wants to be as a knight, and also probably who Egg needs him to be.
Right.
And, Dunk is 17, or 18 or whatever he is. I guess it's not officially said in the book because he doesn't know fully. He's trying on different identities. He's trying to figure out what it means to be Sir Duncan out in the world. And that's an intriguing story in and of itself.
Yeah, I'd say him trying out and sort of exploring his not adolescence but his entering into adulthood makes a lot of sense. He is new to this, not just in age but also as doing anything nightly, and it's mostly based off of a sort of limited understanding of it, so he's trying to sort of be as close to the ideal he knows of.
That's a good way to put it. I don't know if you've ever worked anywhere and you've had a manager who was a strong leader and they had an assistant manager who didn't actually take on a lot of leadership. They just did admin for the manager. If they were called up in to actually lead, it's an open question as to whether or not they could really do it. And I think that's kind of the spot Dunk is in. Arlen's always spoken for him. He's never, he hadn't been gradually moved into knighthood and dealing with all of these things and handling some of the grown-up responsibilities for Arlen. Good point, Jock. After that, we get Egg's song. It was the Westeros version of Rah Rah Ree, kick him in the knee, Rah Rah Ras, kick him in the other knee. And then Egg explains to Dunk that he won't be jousting today, that the first day is for the High Lords. So instead, they go get goose eggs and see Tansel Too Tall. Along the way, they have pork chop sandwiches with goose eggs. They bro out at the joust. They cheer. They do impressions of each other. Dunk says he won't be getting any more ale for Egg because he doesn't like it, and Egg says it's nasty. They talk about how they could be happy in a place like this, dream of being heroes. Egg says that he'll get some land like this and raise cows and marry the Lord's second prettiest daughter, because Dunk has already done that and has married the first. And Egg asks Dunk if his seasonal position can become a W-2 full-time gig with a desk based on the recent stellar performance review that he just received.
That's right. Am I still going to be $10.99 after the tournament? Oh, he made a breakfast sandwich, dude.
Yeah. I realized that I just made a bunch of jokes about the American tax code after inviting more non-Americans.
Yes. A 1099 employee is a contract employee that gets screwed because they have to pay more taxes and they are not actually part of the company. Anyway.
It was interesting to see Aegon's, or Egg's, I should say, worldview and look of the future. Obviously, he's just a kid. and doesn't have a concrete, solid perception of what's going to be. But you get the impression from this scene that he genuinely wants to run away with Dunk and just be a squire and be happy and get away from his family. And perhaps he realizes on some level this is not realistic. Perhaps he does realize. It's just an interesting perspective that he's really pursuing this. This is not just a little stint over the weekend for him.
Oh yeah, no, I could live in a place like this was the wishful thinking part, but the could I stay on is the real part. No, it was just so cute, and yeah, it just shows what Egg has been missing his entire life. He just needs a big brother that's going to actually like care about him and give him some quality time and not just like ignore him to drink or torture him. Not sure if he was able to get that with Aemon, but in any case, or as we learn from the Fosaway, Aemon's already been packed off to the Citadel.
With that in mind, we almost might view Dunk as a bizarre substitute to Aemon in terms of that older brother that he's now missing. That is nothing alike Aemon.
And do we know the age gap between Aegon and Aemon? Because like if he's like, because if Dunk's the same age as like Daron or Aerion, then that's the kind of big brother, older big brother thing that he was missing.
One of the daughters is in between Aemon and Aegon, if that counts for anything, because Maekar has 2 daughters, so there's a gap.
Was the older daughter the one that tried to spike Egg's drink, or?
I thought it was the younger daughter, but I can't even mention their names, so I feel a bit bad for, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't reread the book in a very long time, but I'm enjoying just coming in fresh.
They are 2 years apart, according to the wiki. He was born in 198, and
Egg in 200.
Egg was 200, yeah. Also, how about that line where he's like, "Why have I been throwing up all morning?"
Glad they didn't show that.
Yeah, I thought that was.
We could hear it. You could hear some bizarre sounds coming here and there.
But it's nice that, like, as soon as he realizes, oh wait, I don't have to do this today. Like, they just like, hey, let's have a fun day and like cut loose. Like, yeah, let's go watch the joust. Let's go make a breakfast sandwich. Let's, it just like sort of changes his whole mood for the day, and then they get that chance to really bond.
So from there, Game Master, I don't know his name, so I'm calling him Game Master Hawkalugi, asks Dunk to participate in his FanDuel betting scheme against Sir doesn't know how to spell Andrew. Dunk values his honor over his wallet in that discussion. Says that he does not want a victory that's not earned.
Okay, so I watched this last night when I was I had a lot of like the kind of insomnia where you're really tired, but you still can't sleep. So my impression of the Games Master was actually approaching him in good faith, and because the person taking the dive is the person in control of the con, and Dunk's not the one being asked to take a dive.
Yeah, that was the way it was presented, which makes it even more tempting and also dishonorable.
For clarity, because normally if you're like point shaving, you only need the person taking the dive. Dunk has to challenge Sir Andrew.
Oh, so he has to pick his opponent.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
The tournament is structured that you have like the 5 and like they're sitting out there, and then you just ride up and challenge them. So that explains the whole thing with Arion and Val.
Okay, I was so confused. That makes so much more sense.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like you're king of there's like 5 spots, and then like you ride out and challenge one of the guys out of the 5 spots, and then if you beat him, you take his place.
So they don't like, it's not like, there's brackets and you could be facing some other random knight. Like no matter what, like you got to go against someone who's like well armed and like well trained.
So.
Oh,
no,
okay.
This is not March Madness, even though it is springtime.
I don't know how tournaments work, actually. I'll be honest. Not these types of tournaments.
I mean, I like this. I like that, like, ultimately this storyline doesn't give Dunk a chance to make a decision. It's just sort of a temptation that's put in front of him, and his immediate response is to reject it. But we see him later on thinking about it and what kind of future he wants. So I think that's kind of interesting to play with, and it's pretty much a dead storyline given what's going to happen in the episode. But
another dead storyline, in that we're not going to see anything of it, is they do point out that Valar was getting all of the easy challenges, up-jumped squires and old knights, and it was basically, there was an understanding here that the Targaryen prince has to win, because this is all about, there is an element of artifice here, but they chose not to show any of that in this depiction.
He's not going to have such an easy time with his spring sickness with his brown hair. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got no immunities. Yeah, I guess jokes about fictional characters dying of plagues is probably going to bomb.
I don't know. I mean, we're far enough away from COVID. Plague jokes are funny again.
I think it's more the eugenics angle of the aspect with his brown hair.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, because that's not really confirmed or not, but it does seem likely.
Yeah, all the
we need us a purebred with the purple eyes and the white hair. Although this does show how far I think Targs have fallen, because there were people that looked down on their customs. Obviously, the incestuous marriage, and they didn't keep with the old gods or the seven. I mean, entirely. So like they didn't follow all the rules that everybody else followed, but they had dragons, and we see in House of the Dragon, like they're still fairly well respected. They have that power, even if some people don't necessarily agree. But we've gone through a string of shitty like inbred kings basically, and then you got Fossaway being like they're incestuous aliens. like little green men or something. But so like clearly the kingdom's not sold.
Yeah, I mean, I think that attitude's always existed, but now that they have that people would say that to each other one-on-one in private with a fair level of trust, like we have between the Fossaway and Dunk.
Well, they don't even know each other that well, right?
I mean, this is just like their guys just vibing because like they know they hit it off with each other.
Yeah, because words like that are treason. I mean,
yeah.
You see Raymond backpedaling pretty quickly once he's like, yeah, I heard that from my cousin.
But it just shows that it is something that gets brought up. I mean, regularly.
Right, but like I think of like for this one in the scene of Hot D season 1 where young Alicent is confronting Rhaenyra in the Godswood and says like when she thinks that Rhaenyra and Daemon hooked up in the brothel, and she says, "Oh, you took like the venom just comes out of like you Targaryens have such queer customs." That makes it seem to me like that people have always felt this way, and this is what they say, or this is what some people say behind closed doors to each other.
Like the more devout people.
Yeah, that like people have never accepted it, but it's never really like coming into it. And also, as far as like royal marriages, even without the dragons, people begrudgingly accept it because like the king is offering to marry your daughter. So if that's
right,
if he's not going to marry your daughter, then you don't want him to marry your rival's daughter. So,
but Rhaenyra showed her, she married him anyway.
Right. So, they're not usually considering brides from the free cities, right? Because that's like the staying power of the incest custom. And also that just demonstrates why the Targaryens feel like they have to put in more face time, right?
Well, and at this point, the Dorne has been brought into the realm, basically, right?
And it brings up the old
right, because then that doesn't sit as well with people outside of King's Landing.
Right.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, and at this point, Daeron the Good, he's married to a Martell. So, and that's a relatively rare thing to this point in Targ history. They've mostly married each other or married, Cersei II married someone from a free city. So it's been those kind of marriages, or Valarians, because they were already so interbred, maybe a Baratheon. So I think this is where you start to see a bit more spreading out in who Targaryens marry and consider for marriage. Believe Maekar marries a Dane, Dunk marries a Blackwood. So it's I'm sorry, not Dunk. Egg marries a Blackwood. If I've got that right in my head.
And Baelor Breakspear is married to a Dondarrion, and then Aerys is married to a Penrose. I mean, he never touches her, but
Oh, right. That's deep right there. I wouldn't have remembered that.
Yeah.
Right, and also like what was like Valar's, because Valar's married and he has an infant son at this point. But who was he married to again?
Is it Kiera of Tirosh? I think
Okay.
it's a foreigner, because that's to
Right, and then
counter
she
the
later,
foreign influence of the
and then
Blackfires.
right, and then she later marries Daron the drunk.
Poor gal, she had no luck with husbands.
That will happen in Westeros. After the scene where Dunk is approached by Grandmaster of the Games, Lugi, we hear a horn that sounds like it's from Helm's Deep, and they call us to watch Aryan Brightflame, whom they call a prince, but is not a prince, since he is not anywhere near the line for the throne. He's not a prince at the moment, but I'll get off of that pedestal or stool, what soapbox, that's the word. And Bright Flame is an utter piece of shit. He stabs a horse. His armor is cool. It kind of looks like Sauron's armor with a funny face on it. And it looks a lot cooler than Valar's, whom he taunts. He then causes a mob to ensue. Along this whole process, we see Egg say, kill him, kill him. It kind of seemed like something overcame him when he said that. Bright Flame takes a well-deserved apple to the visor.
Of minor importance, so far they have done a pretty good job of establishing who the 7 jousters are going to be, well, who the 14 jousters are going to be of this very important trial. But I do notice that they've basically cut off the potential for establishing the Humphreys, essentially. So I'll be interested. They've got a couple of episodes to still establish them, but how they'll fit Sir Humphrey and his cousin in is something I'm looking for.
You mean Humphrey Harding or?
Humphrey Harding and then his other rival, which is also called Humphrey. The two guys that end up standing for Dunk as well, due to their quarrel with Aerion.
How did we feel about the addition of the mob attacking?
A little strange. I know the obvious what they're trying to establish is that a tenuous hold that the Targaryens have on power and rule and control and all of that. That's their intent. But it's still strange that, you've got small folk charging for a prince. I mean, the whole point of Dunk's actions at the end of this episode is that it's so unthinkable. And it's so unlikely, and that's what makes Dunk so renowned for the small folk for being a knight who remembers his vows. So, a little strange is what I have to say.
I guess they don't have a lot of time to show us, like Blackfire has been mentioned like twice, maybe. They don't really have a lot of time to spend on that, so they want to show us that like maybe you're right, it is a little tenuous. Like the people are more reacting to what he did being, unjust, and they're like, hey, they're treating him like they would any other knight, and not necessarily like a prince of the realm. Is kind of how I picked it up, or like maybe it's meant to be specifically they're pissed off the Targaryens, but I mean either way it shows that like they're not this like sacred cow at the moment.
Like it was a big missed opportunity with Baelor to just show Baelor sitting there, like head in one hand, looking like just beside himself. To me, I would have enjoyed a moment like when Robert makes the Mountain and the Hound stop fighting in the Hand's tourney. Like that was a chance to establish that Baelor is kind of the full package as an heir to the throne. We've already seen that he's like calm and has good judgment, and he's not spiteful, and he treats Egg with respect, and he treats Dunk with respect. We've seen them talk about Sir Arlen and everything he remembers, and he's thorough. We've seen Egg talk about in the Blackfire rebellions and the song and everything. So why not like show us that this guy has command of the room, and that kind of build him up and his importance as a stabilizing factor for the Targaryens there.
Right, and also for like the family dynamics that like he sees, or he has an idea of like how nasty Aerion can be, even if it's not something that he feels like he has like the power to interfere with more on like the family dynamics level.
Yeah, I mean they made a big deal that Bright Flame only behaves when Maekar is around, and it's like, shouldn't he behave when Baylor Breakspear's around. Like, seems like that would be pretty important too, since he's already the hand of the king and gonna be king of the king. So
maybe he defers to his brother for, discipline or whatever of his own children.
Right, but doing something like in public that like my car's not there for seems a little different to me.
It is odd. I guess it's just, we're gonna like look at it, in depth like this, and maybe the general audience isn't even gonna fucking notice. But,
right.
I do think like it would have been a good opportunity for him to have Robert's voice that cuts through chaos and calms things, and then how he treats Arian in private, because obviously he's not gonna like call him out right there, but I imagine you would think there's going to be a conversation pretty soon after that of, hey, I don't care if your dad's here or not, like, you're gonna joust with honor or you're not gonna joust. Like,
Right.
You would think, because like his first pass was kind of trying to lure him, right? Like he set that up.
Yeah.
Like when he pulled away.
I mean, in the books, he awards Prince Arion's horse to Sir Humphrey, which I think gets a mention, but it's very easy to miss in this episode. But yeah, Kevin, I think that was a really good idea, but they just wanted like a semi-riot. That was their focus in this scene.
Yeah, and awarding Arion's horse is a consequence.
That's true. That's true. I think I just might die on the hill of establish Baylor as a huge stabilizing presence, so then his death really means even more later on. Sorry, spoilers all all written.
No, I think that would have been a much better scene than what we got. But yeah, directors have some strange things they want to highlight.
Egg demands to leave after all of this mayhem, and Dunk tries to counsel him that he'll have to see these sorts of things as a squire and as a knight. And Egg takes a very serious tone and says that was no mishap. I do think in these last couple scenes we've seen sort of a switch flip in Egg, and it's wonderful acting. We know from the books there's all kinds of abuse from Aryan Bright Flame and up to and including sexual abuse of Egg. Egg just very quickly flips in survivor mode, and you see there's sort of a rage and maybe even like his Targaryen fire in his eyes when Aryan comes up. And I really liked that they had that happen a couple times before the reveal.
Yeah, I agree.
So then we see some more Dunk and Egg time. They go to Lionel Baratheon's tent, who sings a song about Alice, who lacked some digits and enjoyed taking men to fifth base. Dunk and Egg. Dunk and Egg more or less podcast about the song, and they come dangerously close to discovering feminism and respect for sex workers. And her story abides. Hope belongs to all who invoke it. I ask the question, is Egg the Avatar? Just wonderful wisdom from the little one. After they leave that party, talk about their fathers, we learn Dunk suspects his father was this thief who's a huge man that got hung from Flea Bottom. And then they get their fortunes told, and Dunk finds out he'll be a great success and richer than the Lannisters, which don't know how a Kingsguard does that. And that Egg will be a king and die in hot fire, and people will be happy about that. So, good little couple scenes of them bonding and talking about their pasts and their futures.
Someone pointed out the richer than a Lannister thing, specifically could be, because he has more pages in the book than Jaime.
Figuratively employed.
Yeah.
Richer than one specific Lannister.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like also her prophecy about Egg is like new, I'm pretty sure, and dark as shit. It's like all who know you will rejoice at your death. Like, oh gosh, like it gets bad. Now he's almost 60 years old when he dies at Summerhall, and maybe like the madness has taken him at that point, and like Dunk and like a lot of the people that really care about him will die with him, right? I guess that I don't know. It's just really dark, really dark.
Feels more like a half-truth, because when we have like book references, it's like, "Ooh, King Aegon the Fifth of the Troubled Reign, but beloved by the small folk." So I think I'm not taking it 100% seriously. More that we do know, of course, the lords thought him a bloody-handed tyrant, but these prophecies should be taken figuratively, not literally.
Yeah, and it says all who know you, which is like so vague, but is like Aegon over there, like somebody said they know me. Like the small folk, you could say like these people don't really know him. It might just mean kind of like his people in his orbit. He's pissed off a bunch of lords, stuff like that. Yeah, it's I mean prophecies are I don't know, they're not law entirely in these books. There's definitely some room there, but it's an odd thing to put in, and I wonder where it came from. If this is something they came up with on their own, or if they came up with with George, or they just wanted something ominous, or I mean I don't know. It's an interesting addition.
I feel like
All
a
right.
prude for complaining, sorry, just about the song that Sir Lionel is singing, but there are a number of songs about ladies of Westeros that you could potentially use or even invent for such a purpose of discussing, the meta nature of song work and such, and I really would have liked it if they had included something just a little more classy than shoving your fist up someone's ass that Egg has to discuss. It just feels, ugh, yeah, straddling the
Yeah,
wrong tones.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
Egg has made more than one like comment that seems more sexual in nature than like it feels comfortable to hear the actor deliver. Like you just immediately think about the poor actor, like having to say the thing about turning an asshole into a lance hole. Like it is a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like as a devil's advocate, like just one, he has three older brothers. Two of them are like men grown by Westerosi standards, and like who aren't going to like shield Egg from the reality of like sex workers and sex acts. And because when he was in the care of Daron, how often did Daron like pick up a sex worker, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I guess part of
And
it is like if we think that he was abused, then it kind of like makes it more dark.
yeah, but then
Yeah,
yeah,
little
but like
little
in
boys can
yeah,
have filthy mouths, but Aegon
right,
sounds like he has an intense, not intense, an understanding of what's going
Yeah,
on
it
that
sounds like
feels
exposure.
disturbing.
Yeah.
yeah, like you can say that because the family dynamics that it makes people like uncomfortable, but then also just like I don't think people in like medieval society are very sheltered from like bodily functions and stuff.
No, for sure.
And
And the showrunners, I mean, these are the people that gave us the a prosthetic dong and defecating on on the tree of Sir Arlen's grave, and they clearly, if this was the song they were going to choose, right? If they were going through and this came up in the meeting, they're like, we have to use that. This definitely seems like their speed.
because like in the show he's 11, right? So having recently spent a lot of time with an 11-year-old, just like that just also like as far as like making it relatable today, just like a lot of kids these days do have just like unfiltered access to the internet, and like for someone to or these days to like clutch their pearls because like a kid said the f or said fuck.
yeah. But I mean, I think that kind of goes back to the difference in like them parroting words they hear and phrases they hear versus like truly understanding. Um, it it definitely like raises the question of what has happened in this kid's life already that he hears a song about a sex worker and immediately like sees her like doggedness and what she is doing to survive in the world. And I think that speaks to who Egg becomes in a certain way, in like the darkest possible manner. It's he becomes this person who is very empathetic and sees people that work hard to survive and wants their lives not to be so miserable. All right, so Dunk splits from the prophecy and he goes to get some cider with Raymond Fossaway, and Egg heads to the puppets. With Sir Raymond, Dunk floats the idea of challenging Sir Andro to his focus group of one. Raymond then has a tweet storm about the Targs to let us know there is still a good bit of Andal fury against the Targs lurking out there. We talked a little bit about that discussion already, but any thoughts on the Raymond and Dunk convo?
They brought their own cider, man.
I do love how the minor houses in Westeros do play the Planet of Cats stuff very seriously.
When your sigil's an apple, you gotta play the part.
Yes. I have a fond place for the Fossways because the first time I ever played the Game of Thrones board game, I was drinking apple cider, and I thought of them the whole time.
Nice.
And that's my life. Yeah.
Is it green apple at this point, or green apple's the one that spreads out? It starts red, right?
Yeah.
They're just red to default, right? Yeah. And he becomes green. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the cadet branch.
Yeah. Okay.
I enjoyed that conversation. I mean, I liked knowing that there's still this like simmering anger among a lot of the nobles, and that's not unrealistic. Like I just read David Mitchell's book about the English kings, and you see that where like the same families 150 years later have some grievance that they bring against a king and try to get them overthrown, and all those things existed in history, and the memory of noble families was really about as long as George makes it, other than some of the ones that go like 8,000 years back. But centuries of rivalry between noble families is absolutely a thing that existed. Sort of simmering and accepting rule from a family that they hate for a while was definitely a thing that happened.
Yeah, and they have very little time to show us that, Dunk has made a few friends, and I think it's been pretty effective, at least with Fossaway and Baratheon. So that when he needs to call people to his side, it's like at least he'll have a couple people. But I mean, what have we had so far? Like maybe an hour and a half of screen time, a little more than that.
I enjoyed the innocent cock-blocking of Squire Ryman, where Dunk would really much rather go to the play and check out Tanzel Too Tall, but Ryman just is like, no, come with me, let's just bro out, cider. It was a good scene.
Yeah.
Barry, come drink beers in my basement, bro.
He's like, I'm cool too, okay? I got a Super Nintendo.
That is very true. But he also knows Tansel's got to work, so it's not like he can be interacting with her during her show,
I think he just wants to gaze upon her face.
Fair enough.
I kind of wish that they had shown the interaction. Like we see her doing the play and stabbing the dragon, and you see him clearly being like, well, the dragon can't lose, but then we don't really see how it escalates so quickly. We just get there and he's like breaking fingers, which is like the grotesque part to watch, but I kind of want to see more of like how it escalated.
On the Raymond and Dunk front, I did like that Dunk kind of floated the trial balloon on challenging Sir Andrew. Like, that he is considering it. We know ultimately he really doesn't even get to make a decision, but I like that it speaks to what he's done so far, right? Like, he's pretending to be a knight. He's faced with another decision to be honorable or tell a small lie that benefits him, and more or less, and he's having to weigh that through.
I guess given this system, he would be stupid not to take the tip, but also I don't think he could live with himself doing that. Ultimately, I don't think he would have done it.
Well, and it's not even like he would get some huge benefit. Like, all he gets is what he would have won anyways.
Right, but it's like his very first victory wouldn't be his. It wouldn't feel earned. It like, the lifetime of, like I didn't earn this would probably just weigh down on. Like I don't think he wants any part of that. But he also, like I said, he knows enough to know like this is a good deal. Like I probably should do this. If he'd been in a couple other tournaments and just needed money, maybe he'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take this guy down. But like this is supposed to be his like debut, right? It's like his first chance to show that he's an honorable knight. You don't want to start off with a lie.
Yeah, Dunk would never start off with a lie.
I like how this is a couple seasons ahead, but it is, just setting up
the snail.
The snail, like the guy in the Mystery Knight who's just like he does that for his like essentially full time. Yeah, Underleaf.
Underleaf? Yeah, Ulor starts with a U, I think. Underleaf.
Uthor Underleaf.
There it is. Yeah, I like that. So from there, we cut back to the puppets. The dragon dies, and Arian does some bullshit. There's some amazing cinematography of him sort of standing alone in his tunic. Everyone else is in like a neutral color, and he's in this like bright, vibrant red standing there. I don't remember if he was solo clapping, but it felt like he was solo clapping. If not, they cut back to Dunk and Raymond talking about Maekar's son's missing and how Bright Flame is taking advantage of his absence to be a jackass. Then the next thing we see is Arian breaking Tansel's finger, and then Dunk arrives to beat the shit out of him. And Bright Flame responds by doing his best Viserys III impression and asking, "Why did you throw away your life for this whore?" Bright Flame prepares to have all of Dunk's teeth knocked out and eventually have Dunk killed because Dunk loosened one of his teeth. Egg arrives, finds his kingly voice to let everyone know who he is and that he's no longer missing. And then the opera music plays. My boyfriend then swings his arms in the air at the reveal to end the episode and asks why the episode is ending now.
This is a pet peeve of mine, but I really would have liked it if they had done more to establish that this is Serwyn of the Mirror Shield, which was like 4,000 years ago, and polished the shield to a bright hue. I just think this is important to establish the misunderstanding that can be attributed to anti-Targaryen propaganda. And I don't want to defend Arion, but like, hey, you just came in and someone's like slaying a dragon, you know? I'd be pissed off too.
How do people feel about the performance of the actor playing Arion, or how the director in writing is choosing to portray him?
I'd prefer more emotion, honestly. More of a Viserys the Third.
It felt rather stilted to me, and like if it's, I didn't really have much of an opinion last episode because he's just rolling in and he's in the presence of, generally in the area of like Baelor and Maekar, but how do you have him really go ham without making him a repeat of Viserys or Joffrey? But I would have preferred more just like overtly sadistic.
He has a control of himself, like a restraint that could be read as like sort of part of a sadistic personality. I don't know that I fully agree with that choice, like y'all said, but I can at least see what they're going for. I like that he seemed really puny and crying about his tooth. That's why I mentioned Viserys III in my recap, because it just sort of was that sense of someone claiming I am the dragon, but they're no true dragon kind of energy. But yeah, the restraint is interesting. I mean, him getting hit with that apple earlier in the episode and not even reacting I thought was interesting. I don't know that felt super true to who he's supposed to be.
I would also have liked this brawl to really get out of control as it's described in the book and depicted in the comic. I think there's like a full page spread of people jumping on Dunk, and then he just throws them off, and then he punches Arian some more, and it just gets chaotic, and they really have to beat the crap out of Dunk to like subdue him, and the scene ends with him passing out in the books. And again, they can make their own decisions, but that's what I was kind of hoping to see.
I feel that. I also feel like maybe they didn't want Jon Snow beating up Ramsay Bolton and just have a forever scene of someone punching someone hated. And maybe they felt like they hadn't done enough in 3 episodes to make you want Arian beaten up that badly.
Yeah, thus far he's just sort of a little shit.
And yeah, we know Egg really hates him. And we know what he's done on screen, but we don't have any other indication of like just how bad the shit he did to Egg was.
Well, before this final moment, we don't really even have that indication as like a unsullied viewer, right? Now you got to like look back and like, oh, he was like weirded out because of this guy, or even an unsullied viewer might just think, oh, he didn't want to get caught by his brother, right? They may not put that together right away.
They made it pretty clear. He said, kill him. And if you thought that they weren't talking about Arian after that scene, Dunk's like, you know,
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and he's like, that was no accident. Like,
yeah, that's
he
true.
pretty clearly hates Bright Flame.
Did anybody else think the curb stomp was odd? Like when he said, "All right, I'm gonna knock your teeth out," I'm just assuming he's gonna get a hammer or a club and just start beating his teeth out. Like I don't know. Did they curb stomp in the back then? Like there weren't really curbs. There's just like a convenient stage there, and immediately he's like, "Yeah, put his teeth on the stage and let's break his teeth out." That feels like a very kind of modern thing to me.
They use
That
those
felt weird.
Valyrian roads that never wear out. They had curbs on them.
Yeah, King's Landing has curbs for sure, but I don't know. I just again it seemed a little odd. Like I feel like back then, this is like medieval-ish. Like you're just knocking people's teeth out with blunt force.
Yep. I know my preferences on knocking teeth out.
Yeah, not my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's that I don't, and that I don't ever have to see it. But, alas. What are our thoughts on Egg's reveal and the opera music and the whole moment?
That was...
wasn't big on the delivery of the line, wasn't big on, or did not like the opera music.
It was so loud. There's been, of all the soundtracks so far, it's typically been pretty subtle and well integrated, but this is just like, where are those like klaxon horns that just go off or something?
I was expecting, like a trumpet or something. Bwah, 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 bwah. Like it was just so oppressive, I thought. And if they had done it like as the credits roll, like okay, but it was like just a couple seconds after, and I actually thought the actor delivered the line really well. Like I had like chills. I was like, oh yeah, man. He's like, I don't want my hair, I don't want to look like you. Like, oh, like we get it, we see it. And then like while I'm still processing that, like I was like, what is going on? Is something else happening? Like the music, just the buildup was just weird. And then credits.
It went on way too after the music and like the reaction shot from Dunk went on way too long for my opinion. But
it definitely made this feel more like somebody telling us a story centuries later. Like it just had that feel like it was a play, like it was Shakespeare telling us the story of Dunk and Egg more than it was.
It took me out of it.
Like, and even then, like it's an opera.
We've been like waiting for like a laugh track a couple of times in the first couple episodes, and then like this is sort of like akin to that.
There's that stock sound effect where like the crowd gasps and everyone's like, "Oh!" I feel like they should have put that in there.
Dramatic chipmunk. But I don't want to hate on it too much because I really did love this episode, and I love all this like first half. Like I think they're doing a really good job, and they're allowed to do it differently than the other shows did. And maybe some of this is like the cuts and the edits and the score is not my choice, but it's not going to ruin it for me. It's just, I don't know. I'm curious to see what like the vibe online was, if people were like turned off by the music as well.
I am as well. Noah has joined us. He snuck in, and I don't know if he planned to lurk, but he's not anymore.
Hello, squad.
Introduce yourself. Give us lemon cakes.
You
can do the episode, and you can do the first half of the season if you want.
Oh, I'd love to. Hello, everyone. It's Pops or Noah. I'm just here to say a quick hello. I have a quick window before bedtime. Not mine, of course, my daughter's. Absolutely am loving this season. Maybe in part because I don't watch much TV anymore, and it's just nice to sit down and watch some TV. But it's been awesome. Every episode has been 4.99 lemon cakes out of 5. Been an absolutely wonderful, magical journey. I'm okay with some of the changes and the boozy Baratheons and the giant cocks. I thought this episode, the third one, was fantastic. I heard you guys talking about the music choice. I will admit I had a sleeping baby on me, so I was watching it on like 2 volume, so a lot of the sound escaped me. So I'm looking forward to the rewatch on that one, but thought it was brilliant. Puppet scene was great. Love the bonding between Dunk and Egg in this one. Love the little changes. Like I quite like that the Master of the games. I forget the dude. Is trying to like sort of illicit dunk out into doing something dodgy. Yeah, just really, really enjoyed it so far.
I've just been calling him Grandmaster Loogie. I don't know his name.
He's always chewing very loudly.
Thought the jousting in this was spectacular. I much prefer daytime jousting to nighttime jousting. Not sure on the practicalities of the nighttime joust. This was great. Scene aside, it was very fun.
Any thoughts on Three-Fingered Alice?
I was totally taken aback at how Egg just suddenly turns it into this philosophical conversation. I thought that was brilliant. It was absolutely not where I thought it was going. I thought it was just, HBO dick, sex joke, whatever, or, butt, fingers in butts thing, like Euron all over again. But it was great.
Yeah, I think we all liked what Egg said. I think we just were sort of a little freaked out to hear it coming from a 10 or 11-year-old.
Considering like his older brothers and the setting, that it wasn't really, but I'm in the minority.
I quite like that explanation, to be honest with you, and also it definitely fits. Like I feel like we're getting a grittier version of Dunk and Egg. Certainly a lot more swearing, especially when he's singing that Blackfire song in the tree. I forget which order that happens in. If
That's at the beginning.
He's singing that, right? So he's singing that first, and then he starts talking about Three-Fingered Alice, and I mean, I guess maybe he's got, he talks about hair on his stones as well. We're getting a filthier egg, I suppose.
Oh yeah, we didn't really cover that, because he's like, hey, is it weird that I have hair down there? It's like he's not been able to say that to anyone, but he feels comfortable saying that to Dunk, and Dunk's like, well, it's weird you're telling me about it. Like, go away. That was also kind of cute. Like no, it's normal. Shut up.
Oh, fun.
What's your guys' thoughts on Aerion's armor and his weird skull face thing?
So earlier in the pod, I specifically said it looks like Sauron's armor with a goofy face. Like, you just put the dumbest face you can on Sauron, and I think you have more or less what he's wearing.
I found the Arion's helm very odd and really incongruent with the setting, but people seem to like it. So
I was hoping for some ornate creatures on helms, I must admit.
I think they get a little obsessed with like adding extra like scaliness to Targaryen armor. I still don't think any armored Targaryen look is better than what Viserys wore at like the beginning of Game of Thrones. It had like the off-center dragon chainmail. Like that looked dope. And I wish they focused more on like bringing some red and brightness and a cool helmet, as opposed to like all of them having all this extra like scaliness on
A
it.
flare. They got too much flare. Yeah, I'm with Steely Pate on that. It's not going to serve well in battle.
Was hoping we would get to see Steely Pate again. I'm sure we will, but was wanting to see some Steely Pate, and they're really teasing us with the shield too. I want to see it. I want to see me some shield, some Dunk shield. Oak and Iron guard me well.
Yeah, I mean, can they fuck up the shield? Let's hope not. I hope it looks good.
I really enjoyed the taming of the horse of Thunder. I mean, it didn't quite make sense to me at first, but I was here for it, and it was a really cute scene. And is it Robin Risling who turns up? I like that they're just kind of giving us a little random knight here and there who's obviously going to be very important at the end.
And I like that they established him as an agent of chaos. So like, he's like, well, he might just chaotically back Dunk, and that'll be wonderful.
I am, what does he say? I embody the warrior or something like that. Badass.
He keeps saying we the whole time, and I'm like, does he think he's like a medieval pope or something? Like, who is we?
No, he's like saying we are vessels for the warrior, right? Like we knights.
The royal we.
All right. Shall we conclude it?
Aye, aye.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening in. We hope that as many of you as possible can join the conversation, join our Discord, Vassals of Kingsgrave, if you're not in it, and chat away with us. We'll be back next week with coverage of episode 4.